Welcome to Channel X TV, sponsored by Volo. Delighted to be joined by Rikin from TikTok and actually fulfilled by TikTok. So, how are you?
Thank you. I'm fine, thank you. And I'm equally excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
Tell us just a little bit about your job. How long have you been there? Fulfilled by TikTok is brand new FBT.
It is brand new FBT. So I've been at TikTok for over a year. I was hired to launch FBT into the marketplace, and we did that in August. So I basically spent the first part of my TikTok journey figuring out how to launch FBT, and then after launch, it's been about really scaling up and dealing with the demand that's come from that. So it's been I would say it's been a year, but it feels like a lot longer.
So we're kind of used to fulfillment by marketplaces. I mean, Amazon have got it,
Yeah.
eBay have got it, and now TikTok have got it.
Yeah.
But tell us, how does FBT on TikTok work at its very, very basics?
Yeah, so the basics are that we are a service that are available to TikTok shop sellers. So you've got to be registered on TikTok to use FBT. After that, it's about creating your listings, which is very typical in all of those other places as well, and then deciding what to send to FBT. Once you've determined that, you send it to our warehouse, our fulfillment warehouse, and then essentially when the order comes in, we fulfill it. I mean, that literally is. It sounds very plain vanilla when I say it like that, but that's literally what we do.
So you say creative listings very similar to other platforms, but actually it's not about the listing creation, it's about how it sells. And
That's right.
I think one of the interesting things with TikTok is when a product goes viral,
Yes.
which it doesn't really happen on other platforms, certainly not to the same extent.
And that's the uniqueness about, I think, what we do, because we can't just build like the traditional way that fulfillment has been, which has been to store up, and then you have a steady cycle, you have seasonality, you have predictability. All of that's gone out of the window. So with TikTok, so stuff can go viral depending on the social trend and the mood. So that's meant that we've had to be very nimble and agile on our feet in terms of delivery and in maintaining a really high standard despite not knowing necessarily what per se is going to go viral. And I think that's the same with some of our sellers as well, who use TikTok as a way of launching something new and creating something new, and that's, for them, it's a big risk and a new experience, but for us, it's receiving things at the last minute and then being able to really keep that high standard despite that virality. So we've gone through the first Black Friday experience last year, and then the Christmas, and now we're coming up to Easter. So we've gotten I feel like a little bit of experience under them now.
So something I wanted to ask is any indication of whether using FBT actually increases sell-through or customer satisfaction, and whether it's a reason that you should use FBT because there's more trust from the consumer because TikTok are fulfilling it, or whether retailers and brands think more about actually it's the fact that when something goes viral, that maybe I'm doing a live on next Tuesday, and it's just going to beat my warehouse up if I suddenly sell 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 units in a day and make it TikTok's problem. So what's the real reason for using it?
That's a great question. I would say initially it's the latter, which is that sellers have gone, and we've got lots of testimonials already now that are publicly available. We've had sellers like Go GT Fashion, for instance, who is a TikTok shop fashion seller who went from 20 orders a day to suddenly 2,000 orders a day. So there's no, I mean, they say in the testimonial, we helped to make that happen. They wouldn't have been able to cope with that order volume. And it's not just them. I mean, obviously they're professional, and everybody is when they start to sell, but it's that virality that catches you out. And so for us, the ability to deal with 20 orders a day or 5 orders a day, all the way down to thousands of orders a day, or even more, I think is a testament to that flexibility. So so that's attracting, but what's keeping them there is that foremost statement, which is you want a high level of buyer satisfaction. Somebody who's repeatedly selling something and repeatedly doing well, or is beginning to grow, isn't just worried about one peak or one product. They're worried about that long-term vision. And what we found is that using FBT, and we've got anecdotes from sellers on this one, again, on social media posts, where sellers are saying, this has really enabled us to go big, but also our buyers are happy with what we're getting. They're getting it faster. It's cost competitive for the seller, so they're able to price their products appropriately. So to answer your question, explicitly, I do believe it's driving customer satisfaction, customer meaning, and like the person who's buying it, through quicker delivery times, which we can talk about soon, and then also we're also in TikTok Shop, we monitor dissatisfaction quite rigidly. It's funny because most people are trying to obsess over customer. We're measuring dissatisfaction. I would say FBT, or Fulfilled by TikTok, has the lowest dissatisfaction rate of all the ways of fulfilling orders. So three times less than doing it by yourself. So ultimately, sellers, I believe, are beginning to see the value. So they use us for that, as you say, that outsourcing, but then they keep using us for those end user benefits as well.
And talk to me about sort of the dispatch speed and cost savings. I mean, we all expect a 3PL, you're going to have to pay for it, but we're also expecting that they'll potentially have much later cut-off times than I could have in my own warehouse, even if I'm quite a large business.
Yeah, so we're actually, to that point, in fact, one of the things that we're about to launch is a change in our cut-off time. So cut-off times when we launched were very, very early in the day in terms of order cut-off time. So we were, I think it was something like 2 p.m. or 3 p.m.
That's really
when we launched. Now we've gone down to 10 p.m. and ultimately we're pushing even more. And so the idea is to become more and more aggressive and more flexible about when people are buying and us fulfilling that. So that's number one. I completely agree.
Because I can promise you, I'm normally on TikTok in the evening while I'm watching the TV, so 2 o'clock cut-off time.
Yes, but that was when we initially were testing it, and I think once we start to build the confidence and start to see that yes, we are getting, because there's no point having later cut-off time if you're end-to-end times, and that's the time between when you place that order late night and when you actually receive the item. What we were obsessing over was that metric. Because what we wanted to do was to bring it to what I call like what a customer expects. And today, in today's market, we all buy things on multiple platforms and we expect them to come basically the next day. So I'm thrilled to now say, 6 months later, that our end-to-end times have halved since we first launched. And so they're now under 40 hours, and we're constantly trying to bring that number down. So that's partly due to later cut-off time, but it's also partly due to us just getting better and better, working with our providers and really optimizing the logic between which provider takes what item. So we're trying to, obviously there's a lot of room for improvement, but yeah, we're very, very proud of the way it's going.
And the other thing that really interested me is the additional services that you can provide over and above taking a box off the shelf, slapping a label and sending it out with a courier, but the sort of picking, packing and combining products. And I know we spoke a little while ago to Sackett Nature Spell, who said they were doing it themselves and they were storing stock in the car park. They were so busy because of TikTok, but it was that consolidating products into a product set.
Yes. He was very kind to say that, and we obviously value his partnership. I would say that it's one of the most thrilling things I heard recently from one of our largest sellers. It was over Christmas, and we were really, a huge number of sales that they're dealing with, and I visited them just before Christmas, and they said, I won't say the name just because I didn't get the permission, but they said, hey, FBT is allowing me to go on holiday for the first time in 3 years.
Gotcha.
And she said, Rikin, you're overcomplicating the sales with all these numbers. Actually, what you're allowing me to do is to just forget about logistics and go on holiday. And that was a great thing to hear, because ultimately that's what we're there to do. At the basic level, we're there to really be that outsourcing function for sellers who can then send us their goods and just not worry about what's going to go when and that kind of thing. So just at the basic level, that's what we're trying to do. But it's also thrilling to hear that.
So something else that was interesting.
Sorry, I didn't answer your question about the value added.
Oh, yes.
I was going to say, I think one of the things is that when people buy something on TikTok, I think they expect it's about all that bringing joy and creativity. We've tried to introduce that in our ways as well. So we've actually launched since we last spoke, we've launched our branded packaging. So if you buy something from Fulfilled by TikTok, typically it comes in a TikTok shop branded packaging, and some of it's now getting very creative. So I think that's just, it's just a part of what we do, but it's just what we're trying to do is to really bring a little bit of uniqueness into the end user experience as well.
So something I'm really interested in is how you're supporting brands that are new to TikTok Shop. And if I've made the decision we're going to do TikTok, we've signed up for TikTok Shop, we've got our products loaded. Should I be thinking about fulfilling myself to start with, or should I be using TikTok, fulfilled by TikTok to start with? And
loads of questions. I can take the whole interview and that range of questions. So I'm going to answer. I love that. I think if you're a new seller or new to selling on TikTok Shop, there's two sorts of sellers right now, broadly speaking. One is homegrown brands beginning to start their e-commerce journey, or maybe they have already started to sell somewhere and they're really looking to go big on TikTok. For those brands, they may have already done some investment, but it goes back to virality. Are they ready for that virality? Are they ready for the nature of sales on TikTok? I don't think TikTok's comparable to any other platform just because of that reason. I think the way that people buy on TikTok is unique. I think the way that that they find products and they start exploring new things is unique and trend-based. So for me, I think that's when a seller decides, hey, just to make sure that I can maintain that level of service, or make sure that I'm at least at par with some of the biggest sellers on TikTok, I think it's advisable to at least start to think about experimenting with FBT as you start to becoming a bigger and bigger as a seller, and it's more about just future-proofing yourself at that point. That's one group of sellers. So my advice there would be start to future-proof yourself. You may be able to deal with 20 orders a day or 100 orders per day, but can you deal with thousands?
And I think while we're talking about orders per day, we should really throw some numbers out there. I mean,
sure.
George is so sweet. He's got one listing on TikTok that's had 117,000 sales. I checked it this morning. And Nature Spell in less than a year achieved their 1 millionth sale on TikTok. So these are not numbers that normally you can cope with.
Yeah. I mean, we've got so many brands, we could go on and on about the brands that are using FBT either publicly or privately. I would just say that the amount of growth that we've had from some of the largest sellers. I mean, I would say FBT is now the preferred provider for the majority of the large sellers on TikTok Shop. So these are sellers that have gone from zero to, as you say.
So these are the kind of the homegrown sellers.
Yeah, it's the homegrown sellers. We've also started to see, and we value those sellers obviously and their relationship, but we also start to see some of the bigger brands entering as well now and using FBT to actually test selling on TikTok. And I think that's a unique new trend as well. So I think for sellers that are not, are entering that D2C experience for the first time, FBT makes a lot of sense.
So this is interesting because if you're a big corporate, you can't just suddenly spring on your warehouse. We've got 10,000 orders today above expectation.
I mean, a lot of our sellers, big and small, have already some relationships. They have some warehouse space, or they know something about logistics in one way or the other. But I find that being ready for the kind of sales experience that you have on TikTok is a unique thing, and so for me, we've had larger brands test, start to launch their newest products. Recently, we had Coca Cola launched their Tears product on TikTok.
They sold out in a day. I didn't even get to buy one. I didn't even get to see one.
Neither did I, by the way. So they launched in the US and UK simultaneously, and for us, that was a great example of, even though they do obviously have their own logistics, but having the logistics, that means a great experience for their buyers is only really available.
We're talking of thousands of sales within hours for that particular one.
That's
right. So quite a lot of promotion.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, so we something like over 5,000 orders sold within, I think, 6 hours or something like that. And I think, obviously, with Nature Spell and So Sweet and Free Soul and some of these other big brands that are using FBT as well, I mean, we're just thrilled to support their growth. I mean, we recently had another seller called H&B Cosmetics also provide a great testimonial for us, and where they had something like 100% growth of orders, and we've gone step by step with them. So we've been able to maintain and actually improve. I think we cut their end-to-end times by 50%. So despite the growth of orders, we just kept getting better and better operationally, and for them, it just meant they can just continue focusing on what they're obviously great at.
And I think it's worth, for those people that haven't actually started selling on TikTok yet, it is worth really emphasising it's not like other platforms where you get a steady stream of sales over weeks and days. on TikTok, you can go from zero to hero literally overnight. If you get a creator that picks up on your product and it does go viral, then you could literally get thousands of orders when you wake up in the morning that you've got to deal with.
I mean, that's what makes it so exciting, that social commerce. And I think with TikTok Shop, we're very proud to see these examples, and ultimately we're proud to bring new products also to the end user. And I think for us, that growth of products is just getting better and better with fulfillment by TikTok. And I think what you'll see is, as a buyer, what you'll see is, consistently the FBT fulfilled products, which you can see it when you check out. That just becomes more and more prevalent, and which is great, because that means there's a certain level of quality and expectation and support that you get. At the same time, for the seller, it's a relief that if you do go viral, and there are sellers that do a base level of sales, obviously, that steady stream of growth. But yeah, when it does go viral, you need to be ready for it.
Yeah, and you never know when it's going to go viral necessarily.
Live,
but it could be some creator that's just like.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, growth comes from the short, the videos, the lives, the creators, the affiliates. I mean, it really is such a rich ecosystem by which sellers are really discovering, I would say, almost a new way to grow. So just having a great product is obviously one part of it, but then having all of those other, that strong story around your product, it means that, there is a really strong chance of future growth.
So you kind of indicated that FTP is still relatively new, and you're still extending out cut-off times, etc.
Yeah.
What's new and exciting that we can expect over the next 6 months to a year, say? Well, what's up and coming, and what are you really looking forward to?
As of course, I'm limited by what I say, because I don't want to overpromise, but we're constantly testing, because we're so new. We launched last August. We are constantly testing new programs and new ideas with sellers. So we've got lots of tests running up and going. And as soon as we feel very confident about them, we go big. In terms of the last 6 months, what's happened, I could just be a bit more confident and say we've been really focused on getting that end-to-end time down. So the late cuts has been a focus. The TikTok Shop packaging has been the other thing that we've ramped up significantly. And then what I would say is we've been launching a number of things at the back end to make sure that our sellers are protected and they have a really good experience. So our focus over the last 6 months has been to make sure we provide a really good foundation for all the exciting stuff to come this year. So I would say, for example, we've launched a merchant protection policy, which means the merchant is protected if we do something wrong, completely. So that whole process, setting it up, we've now got a ticketing system and a 24-hour response team to deal with any customer queries or seller queries. So these kinds of things, they seem small, but they just add to the whole experience, which sellers rightly expect from us. So we just wanted to make sure we get those right before we will be launching some cool stuff as well. So I'd say the most recent functionality, as apart from the packaging, I would say is we had combined listings, which is basically a virtual bundle creation that you could do when you're in FBT. You have products in the warehouse and you want to create a virtual bundle and then list that on TikTok Shop and basically rapidly create a completely new product to sell to your buyers. And that's the functionality that's probably, I would say, the most recent, and that we've been scaling up, but there's a lot more to come. We're very new service. There's a lot of
year to come.
There's a lot of stuff that our sellers also expect. They give us ideas, and I think one of the cool things about being a new service is that we're so responsive to sellers going, hey, why don't you guys think about this, or why don't you think about that? I mean, we can't obviously do everything, but we listen and we absorb and we test, and hopefully we launch.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time today, but there's something I've got to ask before we go. And that is for that brand out there that's watching, and maybe they're not even signed up for TikTok Shop yet. How do they get hold of FBT, fulfilled by TikTok? How do they find out more and find out if it is suitable for them?
That's fantastic. We have a landing page, which is basically a web page where you can go. I hope we can
put
a link.
I was going to say
we're going to put a link below.
Look below the video.
It's publicly available, and we've actually got our videos around what we provide, videos of our warehouse. We've also got a cost calculator, so you can actually look at the cost, which we believe is extremely competitive for fulfillment costs. And so we're trying to basically be a provider and enabler for your growth. So if you want to know more, obviously you can go to the TikTok Shop seller page as well, and that can take you through the onboarding process for TikTok. But aside from that, we've got our own web page where you can see everything, and there's a bunch of FAQs And there's also a contact us form, so you can get.
So go to the page, link below, click the contact us form, and you're away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.